Thank you everyone for joining us. Please welcome David Peng of Youth Coding and Innovation Lab to share more about NFTs and blockchain technology with us. This program is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel for a limited time after the program. Thank you everyone for joining us, and I will turn it over to David to get started now.
Okay, great. Good evening, everybody. My name is David Peng, and I am the IT professional for more than 20 years. I also the former adjunct professor at State University of New York. I teach the advanced programming course at SUNY for about 2 years. On my spare time, I built a STEM organization called Youth Coding and Innovation Club. We focus on the STEM education, especially the computer programming. It's really, I expect it's really the similar for the youth. So that means your age, I assume, is between like 8 to 17 or 18. But just in case you are adult, that's perfect fine because I get invitation from the youth program. So that's why I prepare most of this just for the youth. The difference between the adult and youth program, what my understanding is that the youth has least knowledge about some of this term, but the adult, they may have a lot of knowledge. So that's why I try to make the introduction of the NFT and blockchain technology as simple as possible. Some of this slide maybe looks complex, but I will try to skip that, not really give you too much of this deep knowledge required term. Okay, so let's start. So this is really something I found online. I think it's very interesting. The top 10 NFT projects with highest social signal. That means how many group or person pay attention to that. Of course, this is really just something based on the previous statistic. The number is growing over the time. But before we really start, I like to ask you the question, what kind of buzzword you heard from this 5? Blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFT, smart contract. Yeah, you can put in the chat box if you think you know any of this. I just like to see how much of this buzzword really caught attention for each one of you. So I understand some of this may be more popular, like Bitcoin. Probably most of you know that. So do the blockchain. But this term, like the Ethereum, so do the smart contract. Probably it's not as popular as the NFT or the Bitcoin. So yeah, you heard all of this. Great, Paul. Yeah, that's great. So if you heard all of them, I assume you know a little bit about that, and you do not really necessary to know very deep about each one of this, but at least you know some of this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's an NFT art. Of course, this is high level. I don't really think, if you already know this buzzword, I guess you already know some of this, if not all of this. So the digital art, it's really a digital piece of the digital version of the physical artwork. So something like, we know the painting of the Mona Lisa. So if we convert that as a digital copy, that's become a digital art. Or sometimes the artist creates some sort of the masterpiece, which is only digital only. So that means they don't even draw. You probably see a lot of cartoon and a lot of like the digital art painting that do not really have the physical drawing or painting on the paper anymore. They are purely digital. So that's really what we call digital art. And when the digital art was minted on the blockchain, and it was combined with the agreement which was written as a smart contract, we call that NFT art. Okay, here it's a little bit tricky So what's really the mint here means? The mint is really means when you create a digital art, you upload to the blockchain. That means mint. So the term mint, don't worry too much about it. You can think it's really upload to the blockchain. So that's mint. And the smart contract is another buzzword which is very important for NFT, which means they have its own built-in contract, which you do not even have to worry about that. They have a lot of term. Of course, that term, sometimes you can tweak a little bit, but most times you don't. And of course, the NFT by itself means non-fungible token. So when you are really create that NFT, we call you create that as a non-fungible token. This one is really something we need to discuss a little bit more. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's the difference between the fungible and non-fungible. Okay, I have something here I like to show you guys. So I have two of the, sorry, this is $1 bill, right? Okay, so this two $1 bill, I change from left hand to right hand, they're the same, right? So I can use either one of these to buy something. So this bill, or called green bill or dollar, it's really something called fungible because they are not unique. Okay, we probably have more than 100 in your chest somewhere, right? And you can use this to buy something, especially the dollar store. So this kind of bill or dollar is fungible. That means they can be exchanged and without lose any value, and they are not unique. So to here, I have two of the $5 bill, right? So there are two $5 bill, and I can exchange this two $5 bill. They're the same. And also I can do something like this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 $1 bill, and I have 1 $5 bill. I can exchange this, no problem, because both are really represent $5. No matter it's in 5 $1 or in 1 $5, right? So that makes the non-fungible becomes unique. What non-fungible really means is that it is unique. It is something only one. You do not have the second one. And another attribute of the non-fungible is that most times, I know the NFT has been developed over time, changed a lot, but at least originally, the non-fungible, it's really something non-breakable. So that means you cannot really say, oh, I break this Mona Lisa to be 100 pieces, and each one own 1 out of 100. That makes no sense because that's not really something you're supposed to do. Of course, over the time, the non-fungible NFT, the art may break and sell. That's purely on the marketing. But the idea of non-fungible means you must be unique and you cannot be break. Okay, let me try to make some of this dollar bill to be non-fungible. So how can I do it? Anybody can give me some idea? How can I make this $5 bill to be non-fungible? Now this is fungible, right? So that means that both of these $5 bill are exactly the same. None of these are really unique. So how can I make one of these bills become non-fungible? Anybody can give me some suggestion? Sign, that's a great idea, Paul. I like that. Okay, let me sign my bill. Okay, so I sign back of my bill. Okay, so I'm sorry, you probably cannot see it very clear, but I put my name on the on this $5 bill, and this become non-fungible. And when I exchange this, I can use either one. But just in case I become very popular, okay, I am a very famous professor, for example, in the future. And if you keep this copy of this $5 bill, I can create this as a NFT. that's become a unique and only one. So that's very important. Yeah, that's a great answer. I love it. Thank you. And of course, the non-fungible also includes some other stuff like your house, right? So that's unique. When you own your house, you have a deed. That's a unique. It's non-fungible. You cannot say, okay, I use my house to trade with another same value house on the market. They're still totally different. Even the build exactly the same, right? But they're still unique. You have that house with a unique address, and even their looks exactly the same as your neighbor's house. Okay, so that's non-fungible. That's great. So here is a little bit more extent of the what's a fungible and what's a non-fungible. And they even have something called the tangible and intangible. So that means intangible means you do not really know the value. Okay, the tangible means you know the value. Of course, it's roughly, not always. Okay, and this one, you do not really know how much this digital art really value about. This is really the top artist with its top NFT masterpiece. And there are a couple of names are very famous, and like the Grims, Beepers, Justin Roiland, and King of Lear, Axie Infinity. All of these are really sold a lot of digital art piece as a NFT format, and they collect millions of dollars. Okay, and I like to play one of the short video because this will give you the basic idea how much the NFT art are really worth. I mean, in the extreme case.
Expensive NFTs ever sold. You will not believe how much number 1 sold for. Number 10 is CryptoPunk number 5217. This sold for a whopping of 5.59 million. This is an extremely rare NFT because of the knitted hat and gold chain, which explains its high price. Number 9 is Beeple's Oceanfront. This sold for $6 million, and this is only one of his works in the top 10. This Beeple guy is pretty good at NFTs. Number 8 is a coin for the Freeman by Xcopy. This sold for 6.034 million, and this is one of the moving NFTs that is kind of creepy, I can't lie. Number 7 is Beeple's Crossroad. This is the second one coming in from Beeple, and this sold for $6.6 million. This is another moving NFT, and it seems to depict a sleeping giant with loser tattooed on his head. Pretty awesome. Let me know in the comments if you think that this is worth $6.6 million. Number 6 is CryptoPunk number 7804. This sold for 7.6 million. Yes, we are moving into the 7 million figure range. The reason behind this high price is this is one of 9 alien CryptoPunks, and it has a few rare features to go alongside it. Keeping up the CryptoPunk trend, at number 5, we have CryptoPunk number 3100. This sold for 7.67 million. Another alien punk just like the last one we saw, however this time he is just wearing a headband. Number 4 is another CryptoPunk. This is CryptoPunk number 7523, and this sold for $11.75 million. Yes, that is correct. Over 8 figures for a CryptoPunk, and this is supposedly the 3rd rarest in the collection. Number 3, we have another piece of art from Beeple. This piece of art is called Human One, and this sold for $28.985 million. Another very cool NFT, but honestly, I want to know who has $30 million to spend on this piece of art. Number 2 is probably one of the most famous pieces of NFT art ever created, and this is Beeple's Everydays, the first 5,000 days. What this is this is essentially a collage of 5,000 pieces of Beeple art, all put together in a single collage. This sold for $69.3 million. Now, number 1 is on screen right now. I would like you to pause this video, go down in the comments, and let me know how much you think somebody paid.
Okay, let's make a quick guess. How much they paid for this number 1 NFT? You can put in the chat. Before we played out 72 million, any other number? Yeah, before we give the number out, yeah, please make some guess. Yeah, just have fun. Yeah, I don't know. I cannot remember exact number, but I really like to see how close we can get the guess. Okay, let's play.
Art. This piece of art was $91.8
Wow.
million. This was actually sold quite recently on the 2nd of December 2021, and no single person owns this. This is actually owned by 30,000 combined collectors. However, the $91 million price tag is still absolutely astounding. This means that each person chipped in $3,060 on average. Whether they split this equally, I'm not sure. However, on average, they would be spending $3,060 each. So that's got me asking the question, how long until the first $100 million NFT is sold? That was the top 10 most expensive NFTs ever sold.
Okay, so we know the number one is close to 92 million. So the next highest one probably in the future will be over 100 million, right? So that's a whole lot of money. Okay, but anyway, this seminar is not really talking about how much money this artist made. Even I have the top 5 masterpiece over here, but actually I will not really discuss one by one because that's really just purely about a number, right? And I am here more interesting about how the NFT works. So what is really the NFT? We already discussed a little bit, and let's see how the definition from the more official term. So the NFT, of course, is a non-fungible token, but it's not a reference to the digital art itself. So what that really means is that they are not really reference to a physical copy of a digital art. Also, they do not really reference to a physical item of an art. Instead, it's really reference to a blockchain address. You can also think it's really a block of data which saved on the blockchain. That's an NFT. Of course, that piece of data, unit of data, really can be represented to some other stuff, like the real world physical item or the digital asset, or you can even reference that to some piece of paper or some sort of money, anything you can reference to. So the NFT by itself, it's not the art piece. Just make sure that's a key point. It's really reference to the proof of ownership. And that proof of ownership was stored on the blockchain. So that's what the NFT really about. So the Bitcoin, of course, is indistinguishable from other Bitcoins and can be changed, but the NFT cannot be changed. All of these NFT are unique. So that means if you own an NFT, before you transfer the ownership, you are the purely and unique only one owner. And it was stored and protected on the blockchain. Okay, and we probably see a lot of this, like what's really the ownership of digital asset, what's really the digital wallet. I will talk a little bit more about this part, but the basic idea is that NFT is not the digital art, or it's not a copy of that. It's really just represent of the ownership which stored on the blockchain. So let's review a little bit about the NFT history. That's something I really like to discuss since we all know the NFT becomes so popular, but probably nobody really heard this term before 2017. Why that happened? It's because before 2017, nobody really make any NFT. The NFT really start to become popular when the American studio called the Nova Labs, they developed the cyberpunk. Yes, that's right. So you can see all of this are really cyberpunk, right? That's really the start point. They have a whole series of the collectible digit character trading through the NFT, and it's a start point for the NFT to become more and more popular. Nowadays, we have more than 10,000 unique cyberpunk to be collected, but the number can be higher and higher. Okay, so what you really get when you claim the ownership? So when you say, oh, I have owned the NFT, what that really means? That really means a couple of things. Number one is that it's really some sort of authenticate ownership. So that means your ownership is unique and cannot be changed. Of course, you can transfer that, but that means before you transfer to any other new owner, your ownership is unique, and it was proved on the blockchain. And it also is permanent. So that means nobody can really say they take over your ownership without your agreement. And also the blockchain by itself, they record the provenance. So that means they keep update and they keep that as an authentication method. You do not have to worry about it. It's not really like you own a piece of paint. You have to make sure it's authenticated, and you also make sure you store it. For the NFT, you do not have to store it. So what's the distinguish between the NFT and some other sort of the digital art? It's very important. If you have a copy of if you have an NFT ownership, that only means you have the ownership of that copy of the digital art. But the same digital art can be made hundreds, if not thousands of pieces of the copy. So your unique is only unique for that piece of the ownership, not really represent the ownership to the original digital art. So that's totally different. So that means for most of the case, you do not have the copyright, unfortunately. So you cannot say, oh, I own a NFT, now I have the copyright for this digital art. No, you don't really have that. Unfortunately, that's the truth. But on the other hand, why the NFT can sell so much money? And it's because your authentication has been proved and your unique collection was really given by the original owner. And also sometimes if you heard some of this NFT, they give you the community ownership. So that means, oh, if you join to collect the cyberpunk, for example, you are really joining that community, which is claim the ownership. It's pretty much like a social media, but it's also a social game. Now it's a social NFT. So they have the group of community, which they can claim the ownership for the series of connection, and they can become the friend. Because everybody like to become a friend who have the common interest in, right? So if you have interest about the NFT, you probably like to know some other people also have interest about NFT, and you can become friend. That's very common. So now let's see how NFT works. Of course, all of these are really high level. We will discuss a little bit more details. So when we talk on this slide, they only give you the very high level overview. Okay, let's say I want to create an NFT. So I have the piece of beer, which I just signed my name over here, right? So this is a $5 beer, but I signed my name. So I take a picture of that. Okay, let's have my phone and take a picture of that. Boom. Okay, so now I have a digital copy of this $5 beer, which have my signature, right? So this one becomes the unique because they have my signature. And so do this digital copy. I have this copy over here. Then I send to the online marketplace, for example, OpenSea. If you don't know that, don't worry about that. I will give you a little bit more details about different marketplace, but that's not the key point here. So that means I upload my digital copy of this unique $5 bill, which have my signature. Okay, I upload over there. Of course, before I can trade, I have to really set up a cryptocurrency wallet. Don't worry too much about that if you don't really know what that really means. That's just because they don't really accept the dollar, euro, or any other format of money, but only the cryptocurrency. So I have my digital wallet, and I also upload my masterpiece to that marketplace. Then I list over there. This is nothing different than eBay. So if you ever sold anything on eBay, what's the procedure you go through? For example, I want to sell this mask to the eBay, list on the eBay. So I can take a picture of that, right? And then I can list on the eBay and say, oh, this is a used eBay. I put my signature over here, and then I ask for $20, for example. So I list on eBay. So do here. This unique $5 bill, I take a picture. I can list on the marketplace, just like eBay, of course, different one. And I can sell it. So that really means I create my digital art piece based on this unique $5 bill, and I upload to a marketplace. And I also have the cryptocurrency wallet, just like the PayPal, right? So if you ever use eBay, you probably use PayPal a lot. So that's the same thing. Now I have my wallet, I have my listed item. I'm waiting for somebody to buy my digital copy of the $5 bill. So on that list, for example, wait for 1 month, somebody like to buy it, the fund from the marketplace. So they purchase it and go through the whole transaction. And then I get the money in the digital format. So that means it's a cryptocurrency. So now we change the ownership, but I do not lose this $5 bill. Okay, it's not true to say I don't have this bill. I just give them the ownership of one copy in the digital format. I can even make 1,000 copy. That's not a problem. But most likely, I will give them the right to say, okay, this is very unique. You get a signature $5 bill image from a very famous professor, Levittown, and I will give you the right to reprint it, and you can hang it at anywhere you like. Most likely, I will give him the right. Otherwise, how will he buy it, right? Because if he know I will make thousands of copies, so each one of the copy probably don't feel worth a penny, right? So if I want to give him some incentive, I most likely will give up some of this right. And for me, I don't really lose anything because I still have my $5 bill here. And what I lose is just a copy of that. And I give him the right of the copy just because I made the signature on that $5 bill. So that's a perfect situation. I make the money, he gets something which he take the ownership. Okay, so this is how the NFT works. Basically, if you have any question, please put in the chat or you can shout out. In general, I like to interactive during the seminar. Just in case I missed any of this question, please just shout out, let me know. Okay, so here they have a couple of very important terms, something called the smart contract. Also, we have some sort of term like the create account. We also need the digital currency. So all of this term we will explain a little bit more because you probably already get the basic idea how to trade it. It's nothing different than you trade on the eBay. The only thing different is that on eBay, most times, not every time, you are trading. Afterward, you have to ship the item to the new owner. But sometimes you also can say, I I share the digital copy of my $5 bill with my signature. It's also fine. I send him the file, right? But here you don't even send the file. You just transfer the ownership on the marketplace. And that's it. The marketplace will take care of all of these transactions. Okay, so I don't really go through these two slides just because they are really more about how each one of these steps works. And now we break down into transaction, blocks, verification, hash, and execution. Of course, this comes with a lot of technical details. So I will not really give you overwhelming information before I give you more example, because I prepare this seminar for the youth. So I expect nobody know too much about technical term, like how many of you know what is a hash means? Yeah, if you happen to know that, please shout out. But if you don't know that, it's perfect fine, because this is a very much technical term. Okay, so I assume most of you, someone to do, yeah, that's really right. So something to do with encryption. Yeah, that's definitely right. You really get the point. Of course, the hash have a lot of different algorithms. So you can say hash, but hash with certain algorithm, that's different. Okay, but that's a great answer. Yeah, it has something to do with encryption. Okay, so let's move on. Before we create the NFT, the whole NFT was really built on top of blockchain technology. Because if you only have interesting about how to create and list, sell, and buy NFT, that's easy. We're already done. No, we're not done. Okay, I just kidding. We already give you plenty of explanation of how to do the trading part, right? So if you know this part, you probably know most of that. But I think I am here trying to give you a little bit more about how the NFT works. But before we know that, we definitely need to know how blockchain works. Okay, again, I really like to go through the history a little bit, because I'm not really history professor, but for any reason, when we start to learn something or we have interesting about something, we always try to figure out when it was start, when it was get popular, and when it was becomes more mature, and when it was booming, right? So for blockchain, they also have long history. Even we do not really think it has a long history, but actually it has much longer history than what we thought. Okay, let me ask you a quick question. When do you think the internet was started? So, of course, now we all use internet every day, right? 1965? That's a good hint. Okay, so why you think 1965 is the year we start the internet? Oh, you don't have to diaper. Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah, we know that comes from something we don't even realize it will become so popular, right? So originally we developed the internet for military, and the military tried to build a network which is not really purely centralized, and they lead to be more efficient and is unbreakable, not purely unbreakable, but of course it's as reliable as possible. So they build the concept as the internet. That's great. But the internet become very much popular when one application or one protocol was developed. It's really the www. So when the www protocol becomes popular. If you know the answer, you can give me the answer. If you don't know, don't worry. You just make the guess. Oh, great. Okay, 1987. That's definitely right. So it's not really that much long history. To be honestly, it's about 35 years ago, the www start to become popular. Then we have the internet browser. If you are old enough to know the Netscape, that's really very popular, right? Before year 2000. But the blockchain history was back to 1990. So that means at that year, there are two professors. One is called the Stout Haber, and another one is called the Scott Stonetti. They are really come out with this idea as a blockchain. It's exactly the same as what we are talking now. So they are just say, oh, we try to create some sort of block which can chain together, and it was encrypted, so nobody can really see inside, but everybody can have a piece of copy. You can only add into that blockchain, but you can never really remove out of blockchain. So the blockchain was really the idea as early as 1990. They already have the idea of blockchain, but they never become popular. Almost 20 years later, at 2009, there's a name or a group of person called the Satoshi Nakamoto. Of course, it's a Japanese name, right? So he invented the idea to use the blockchain to create a very, very popular stuff. What's that? You probably already know that it's a Bitcoin. So at 2009, this guy, Nakamoto, he created the Bitcoin. Because of the invention of Bitcoin, the blockchain suddenly becomes so popular and also so well known. And actually, even at 2011, not many people are really adapt the idea of Bitcoin, despite of the blockchain. If you ever heard this is not a joke, this is truth. This one guy at Italy, he used 100 Bitcoin to purchase 2 slices of pizza, right? And do you know how much that 100 Bitcoin worth now? Okay, 2 billion. Okay, I don't really calculate so fast, but I think that number is close. So that means each slide of pizza costs roughly about 1 billion. That's really unimaginable. But that guy really used that, and he has to convince the pizza owner to sell him and accept the Bitcoin, because nobody accepts it. Nobody really like to accept that. Just like if I want to use 1 stone to exchange for a piece of pizza, do you think anybody will give me that pizza and accept that stone? Nobody accepts that because they don't really claim the value for that, right? So that's very natural. But over the time, it's really become so popular, and a lot of blockchain application has been developed on the market. And the NFT, to be honestly, is only one of the trend which happens to use the blockchain and become so popular. Okay, so what's really the blockchain? I don't really like this page, because this page gives you too much of this tech term. Instead, I like to give you 2 of the term. One is called the decentralized. Another term is called the mutation. Okay, so actually, I like to concentrate on these 2 terms, decentralized and immutable. Just in case you know both of them, that's great. If you know one of this, you are really, very close. But let me explain a little bit. Okay, so everybody knows the phone system, right? And if you happen still have the phone like this in your home, not really necessary to looks like this. This is called rotary phone. But even you have the digital phone in your home, like your grandma probably still keeps some kind of phone like this. The idea of a phone network, it's really say every phone will connect through the wire to go to somewhere called CO, is central office. And then in the end, it was connected into the exchange office owned by, for example, AT&T, right? And each one of this office, then exchange office will connect to some other exchange office. So the build whole network is a phone network. And the blockchain, on the other hand, they do not really have this kind of central office. So that means you do not really claim somebody is sitting in the center point and then they collect the information from every owner of the blockchain. No, they are really connect to each other and each one owned the whole blockchain. You do not really say, I have the ownership, you don't. And you do not say, I only have partially copy of the blockchain, you don't. You have either no or. So that's zero or whole. So I like to discuss this a little bit before I coming back to here. Okay, so this is really something we call the decentralized. Decentralized, it's really on the right side, and the centralized is on the left side. Let's use another example, banking, right? So if we are banking with Chase or Citibank, what we're really doing is that, for example, I am this guy, Paul is this guy. So I like to transfer the money to Paul. I'd like to transfer $100. So what this transaction goes through is that from my account, I will send a transaction, say, send $100 through my online account to Paul. And then they will go into this network, which owned, for example, by Chase. And of course, if Paul happens to have an account on Chase, they are on the same network. If not, they probably go through one more network, for example, Citibank. So, but anyway, you will go through a centralized network, which is owned by certain bank. So you control your fund and you are not anonymous. And if somebody try to hike and stole your money, it's still possible because you use this online system and this online system can be hacked. And if the server was down, your transaction cannot go through, right? And it was really built as reliable as possible over the time. So we see most of the bank, almost all of the bank currently still use the centralized network. But what decentralized really means here? The decentralized is like this. So for example, I am David here and Paul is here. I still like to transfer 100 not dollar. If I have 100 Bitcoin, I want to transfer 100 Bitcoin from me to Paul. So I have to go over to here. But don't be confused by this picture. That just means everyone have the copy of everything on the same blockchain. So I still control my fund and I do not have to list my name and nobody can hack it. I will discuss a little bit of why nobody can hack it. And this server was up 24/7. It's really not means your computer is always up. It's because at any moment, it's almost impossible for all of this user on the same blockchain have the computer down. At least 1 or 10% of this have the server up. So as long as somebody has this up, your transaction goes through. So you don't have to worry about that. So now we are talked about the centralized and decentralized. We have another concept called the mutable and immutable. So the blockchain, it's really something we call the immutable. What that really means? So if I change this term to be changeable, that's much easier to understand. So mutable means changeable. Immutable means unchangeable. What's really this change and unchange not really refer to your account? Of course, when I transfer my money from me to Paul, no matter through which network, my account always minus 100. And when Paul received that, Paul's account will plus 100, right? So that's not the point. The point is about transaction. So when I create that transaction and I mint it to blockchain, this transaction becomes immutable. That means even I made the mistake, I have to take that mistake. So I say, I transferred 100 Bitcoin by accident to Paul. That's already transferred. So it's immutable. But the question is that, how can I claim back if I made that mistake? I'll say, oh, my idea is only transfer about 20 Bitcoin to Paul. I made that mistake. But I cannot change the previous transaction. So how can I make up? I think this is a question, I'm sorry. Since the transaction blockchain cannot be changed, how can I claim back the Bitcoin if it was by mistake? So thinking about the answer, it's not really that trivial, but it's not really as simple as what we think. That's a great answer, yes. So just make another transaction. Paul, you got 100 Bitcoin from me and I tell you I made that by mistake. I suppose only give you 20. So you just send me back 80 Bitcoin, create another transaction, which is also immutable. Of course, you cannot change. It sends the Bitcoin back to me. That's a great answer. Okay, so now we all have that basic understanding of what's a Bitcoin and what's the two most important attributes of Bitcoin. Number one is decentralized. Number two is immutable. That's very, very important. And here is give you a little bit of insight of what a blockchain looks like. So the blockchain, it's really a chain of blocks. So each one of this is really a block, and they are chained together. What that really means is that for each block, you have a timestamp. So that means, for example, at 2022, March 24th, I transferred 100 Bitcoin from David to Paul. Okay, so the timestamp is that date, time, and the previous hash that's really connect back to another block before this transaction. And then the current hash was generated. It was generated with your transaction information, but you do not able to see what's really inside this transaction. That's very, very important. That's why we use a hash. And I will give you the explanation and even demo a little bit. So whenever you see this as a transaction, but you do not really know what's the transaction inside this number. And then you have the genesis block. So that's something which give you some sort of the information. Sometimes they give you full information, sometimes they give you partial information, but you pay attention to that. They do not give you the name. So you know the transaction is $180 or 100 Bitcoin, but you do not see the name, who is the sender, who is the receiver. So you don't really know David sent $180 to Paul. You don't really know that. That means your personal information was hid. Most likely was hid inside the hash. So that's inside current hash here. And this hash was really linked back to the previous block. So that means my transaction is this block, and I add this block on the blockchain. This blockchain right before me have the hash like this. I just create another block, which I write the previous hash over here, and I generate the current hash right over here. Then the next time, just for example, Paul will refund me 80 Bitcoin or $120 refund to me. He will create his hash, but he also gets the previous hash from my block. So that's how it works. Okay, so now let's generate a little bit about the hash. Okay, David transfer 100 Bitcoin to Paul. Okay, so now you see I type in this message and it will generate the message like this through the SHA-256 hash. 256 hash is only one of the very popular algorithms. You can use any other hash, but this one is very popular. In general, if you see the number here, the larger the number means they are encrypted with more digits. So that means they become much harder to be break. So if you see the HSA dash, for example, 16, they only have 16 digit bit, and they don't really have as reliable as 256. So now you have this. This one was generated, that's your current hash. Okay, so the Paul will pay me back something like Paul transfer 80 back to David. Okay, so now you can see they'll generate a different hash. So you can put this over here. So this is really the previous hash, what I just generated before, it will inherit here. And this is a hash Paul sent the 80 Bitcoin back to me. That's how the very, very basic idea about the hash. Of course, you also write something over here, but they do not have this very key information about our name. You never write this. Okay, so everybody, because if you understand, everybody have a copy of the blockchain, of the whole blockchain. So everybody can see what's the amount in the transaction, but they do not really know who made the transaction. That part is totally anonymous. That's very, very important. Okay, so if you have any question, please let me know. I hope this explanation is clear enough for you to understand the very basic of the blockchain. Okay, so now let's break down into the step-by-step and see how the blockchain works here. The very first step is that a transaction was requested. For example, I want to send 100 Bitcoin to Paul. So David sent 100 Bitcoin to Paul. So that's, let me copy, got a new one here. Okay. So David sent 100 Bitcoin to Paul. Okay, so now you can see the generator hash, right? Okay, great. So I broadcast a block. So I create one block here. And then I broadcast into the blockchain network. So that means everybody will get the same message. Of course, they don't really know who sent to who, but I attach additional information about 100 Bitcoin. So they know somebody sent 100 Bitcoin. Okay, this part is public. It can be public. And the name will be hide. They do not really know the name. Of course, they have this hash, but unfortunately, they cannot break it because this is highly secured and encrypted. Then the number 3 is that the network will validate the transaction use cryptography. So that means they will really try to validate this number. And of course, this validation just makes sure you are authenticate. You are really comes from the block, which if you see that they have the previous hash, right? So they'll really validate what's the previous hash, whether that was really on the blockchain network. That's very important. So they know you are really at something which have the previous block. That previous block was exist. And number 4 is that the transaction was represented online as a block. So when they are validate, so this will be added onto the blockchain. And number 5 is that it was added in the blockchain, and number 6 becomes the transaction is complete. So that means you have this block was added and it was broadcast to every owner of the blockchain. Everyone get a whole copy of the blockchain. So they are confirmed together. That's why it's virtually impossible for any hacker to break it. Because if they want to break 1 or 10 server or computer to get the information, it's possible. If they want to change the information, it's also possible. But if that's 1,000 or even hundreds of thousands, how can they break every place and change everywhere? That's almost impossible. That's why this blockchain becomes purely untangible or untamperable. So that means you cannot really find that block to be changed on every owner of that blockchain. If you have 100,000 of owner, you have to change 100,000 of the owner's blockchain to make everyone to be hacked. That's virtually impossible. Okay, so that's why we are represent here and see what blockchain technology really works. It's as simple as these 6 steps. Okay. Oh, how long does this process take? That's a very good question. Okay, to be honestly, originally the blockchain is a relatively small network. So that means, for example, they only have 100,000 owner, each one have a copy. It probably takes seconds. So it's very fast. But now, because we have millions, even hundreds of millions of the person use blockchain, for example, use Bitcoin. So one transaction will take as much as 10 minutes. It's still not that bad because if you think how secure it is, it's super secure, but it cannot be as efficient as the bank's transaction. Because if you deal with the bank, for example, you make the transaction online through the Chase, they can handle it within like 15 seconds or at most 30 seconds. So half minute compared to 10 minutes, it's save you a lot of time. But of course, the trade-off is that the hacker can also hack into the Chase central system. They can change the transaction. So when that happens, somebody will get lost. You are not always lost of money because Chase probably give you the protection they will guarantee you. But on the other hand, that means the Chase has to be super strong on their server. So they have to protect their centralized system. So yeah, to be straightforward, the blockchain, it's not as efficient as the centralized network. But on the other hand, the trade-off is that they are highly secure. Nowadays, the blockchain transaction can take as much as 10 minutes to finish one transaction. Yes. Okay, so now let's going back to a little bit to the ledger. So we are talking about the bank system, right? So we are now we use the bank system which they have the centralized ledger. If you're thinking about ledger, I think it's pretty much just like this. Okay, so I send 100 Bitcoin to Paul, and Paul's transfer or send 80 Bitcoin to David. Both of these are called one transaction, and that was written on the ledger. And it was centralized network, for example, hosted by the bank. So they are really can get the golden record of the ledger. So for example, the Chase have the final to say of your record. Either it was failed or it was succeed. Sometimes if you happens to have some sort of technical difficulty, the Chase or any of this online bank, they may give you the alert, say, oh, we have the system downtime at this and your transaction cannot go through. That's very much possible, right? So that means the centralized system has a downtime. They can say, I have the true state of that system, which I can claim at certain point or certain time, it is not available. But on the other hand, the distributed ledger, or called the blockchain, it's only one ledger. What that really means is that they have one and only one, which will be copied to everyone. So everyone always gets an update, but that update will make your copy will identical to any other blockchain owner's copy. I'm sorry, I use blockchain here as a common term. Actually, most likely you only on one of the blockchain platform, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? So yeah, if you get confused, that's my fault. You only on one blockchain network. You don't really say you make the transaction between the Bitcoin to the Ethereum. It can be, but that goes through the marketplace. It's not really in the same network. They are still individual isolated network. Okay. Now let's see what's a single entity and multiple entity. I just give you a little bit of example, but that's not really so important. It's also give you the idea why we are using the distributed ledger. So this is on the right side. Okay. This is a little bit more about how the transaction works. I quickly go through that, but you do not really have to worry too much about these details. So from the very beginning, so I would like to initiate my transaction, and I use my digital signature. That's very important because even I am the user of Bitcoin, for example, I still have my own digital signature. And then I will broadcast my transaction to the nodes. So from my nodes first on my local wallet. And then one or more nodes begins to validate the transaction. The validate here really means they try to figure out whether your previous hash was really a existing hash and it was really the last on the blockchain. That's very important. So that's validation. And if they are really valid, they will aggregate that transaction into the block. So create a new block. And then the nodes will broadcast the block to each other. Say, oh, I have received a new transaction. Do you receive that? Okay, I received that. So they will make sure all of this are really use the update for the same transaction. In the end, your true state, so that means your authentication has been proved by all the user of this blockchain. So that's how it works. Okay, I skip this one because this is pretty much the same thing, but one of the very important buzzwords is called the proof of work. The proof of work is really the validation, okay? And the hash function is very important, but most likely you will not really have to worry about that because that's built in for each one of the blockchain platform. So Bitcoin have its own hash function, the Ethereum have its own hash function. You don't have to worry, and you can change it. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about, a lot about the common knowledge or common technical standpoint. What's a blockchain? Now we are give the blockchain a little bit more about the user case. Now, since this seminar is really prepared for the use, so I assume you have limited knowledge about that. But just in case you already know all of this, yeah, please try to interactive with me. So I will find out something more interesting. Okay, so there are some very common user case. The very first one is called the supply chain management. What's really the supply chain management? If anybody knows that, please shout out. What is supply chain management? Okay, I count for a couple of seconds. If you don't really know the answer, don't worry about that. Business to business sales, it's not a perfect answer, but it's close enough. Yeah, okay. Let me give you a quick example here. So when I buy something, for example, I buy something from Amazon. I bought a lot of stuff from Amazon because they have free delivery. Hopefully you are the same like me. You probably order more than $25 of the stuff, or you subscribe to the Amazon Prime. So you get a free delivery, right? And the whole delivery is like this. Before we use blockchain, the delivery boy will give you the goods over here, say, oh, here is your order. And I say, oh, thank you, thank you. So I got it. And then I open the box. For example, I ordered a box of apple, and I found some of this apple was rotten. Hey, stop. I want my money back. You see, my apple was rotten. It's really not really supposed to be like this, right? So what the delivery boy can do, or the delivery man say, hey, sir, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. I just a delivery guy, okay? I don't really able to taking care of your apple. I don't even know when this apple was rotten because I only deliver in the last mile. Before I deliver to your door, it goes through a whole of the supply chain. So somebody provides the apple, somebody put in the box, somebody ship to the first Amazon drop box store, and somebody drives the truck and goes through the whole chain, what we call supply chain. You got a rotten apple? I have no idea. So this becomes a problem. How can we resolve that? And blockchain comes over here. They can resolve your problem. So now let's see how they resolve that problem. They want to resolve the problem, make it to be more efficient and reduce the cost. And also they can trace back the human error, or sometimes they can trace back the time when the rotten apple was happened. So the blockchain here for the supply chain management was really looks like this. At the farm, when they pick up the apple, they go to store that, for example, the big box of apple, they put the data over there, say, oh, now we have 500 pounds of the apple was picked up from the apple tree and go to this storage. Okay, so this warehouse gets a block. If you remember that, we have a block. And then they go to next food processing. Say, oh, now we have 500 pounds of the apple was picked up from the farm. And then I go to your processing warehouse and you probably wash it and try to clean up a little bit. So they will create another block. Say, oh, now we have 500 pounds of apple. Then they go to the manufacturer. Manufacturer will box it. So they will have its own block. And then say, oh, this 500 pounds of apple, they already have 5 pound apple which was rotten. So they have to mark it separately. So they know at that time the apple was rotten. And they have to remove that because that's really the cost of business. Sometimes they have to throw something away, right? And then they put another block, say, oh, I give you the truck driver, and the truck driver will drive this from one city, for example, somewhere at California, drive all the way to New York. Okay, so this truck driver have this block, and then now they become 450 pounds of apple in the box. And they know at that time, all the apple have no rotten at all. Then they go over to here, go to the retail. The retail will check that and then add into the blockchain, say, now we have 450 pounds of apple in box, but some of this apple was rotten because this is long drive from California to New York. It's very normal, right? Some of this apple become rotten. That's very much possible. So you get the idea. They can find when that rotten apple was found. If it was found over here, they probably already eliminate. So most likely, and in this case, they found that it was during the distribution of long-haul that's a long-haul distribution. So they are really transferred from California to New York. So the retail knows that at this time, they can either give the discount to the end customer or they can throw it away because that's part of the business. So now you know the customer here, they will get the idea of, oh, I have this apple which was rotten. I want to get my money back, and the retail can give the money back. So if we replace the retail here as the delivery man, he can really have some basic idea about when that rotten apple was found. If it was found during this transfer, that's somebody for before him. But if he damaged it, he has some fault. Just give a quick example. Okay, so this is really very interesting example of how the supply chain management was really use the blockchain to solve this problem, right? So that's a very authenticate problem. And you know this problem was really because we found the user case because the delivery man cannot really satisfy the customer's complaint. And now we build this system. So now you know the blockchain can provide the permanent record keeping and transparency and validation of transaction, which was shared by multiple partners, right? So during the whole chain of the system, any one of this can put the record over there and they always keep track of when that was happened. So now you see, just in case they don't really throw away the rotten apple, they know when it was start to rot, right? So that's really how we use blockchain. Okay, so this is the very first example. And now we have another example about cybersecurity. The cybersecurity has become such a big issue now. If you heard the news, a certain bank lost a credit card history by hacking. Some hacker was hacked into the bank system and they they stole millions of social security number. You heard that news before, right? But if they want to change the transaction, it's very much possible they can change that from the centralized system, because if they want to hack, they hack into the centralized system and they can change that number. So when I claim, say, I sent $20 to Kevin, and this may be hacked by the hacker, and he can change that, say, no, I don't want to him say send $20 to Kevin. I just say he sent $20 million to Kevin. What I can do, I have no idea, because this is really what hacker can tamper the data, which we have no idea. So how can we resolve this problem? So it's a similar idea like what we resolve the problem for the supply chain management. Now we want to give them the highly secured environment. We want to create a decentralized storage system, and we also want the traceability. So we use the blockchain. When you send the Bitcoin from me, for example, send to Kevin, I send 20 Bitcoin. What happens is that it will be mint on the blockchain. And then that 20 Bitcoin transaction was really just created as a block. It was really broadcast to millions of other blockchain users. Here is the Bitcoin user. So for hacker to hack into millions of users and change the distributed ledger, that's virtually impossible, because they can hack 1, 10, 100, even 1,000. But how can they hack 1 million of that and change all of this? That's virtually impossible. That's why this make the cybersecurity highly secured in this case, because they will fail. They will try to hack in and they change. And when they realize that there are so many efforts they have to spend, probably takes hundreds of years to hack into all of their system and change that, they will give up. Okay, the last one is about voting. I don't think we have time to go through that, so I skip that. I would like to go to the key point of the, let me see here, smart contract. Okay, since we are talking about the NFT, so the smart contract is very important part of the NFT. So what's really the smart contract is? So we all know the business, they are doing business by contract, right? So that's very natural. So when we are talking about contract, it's really between the seller and buyer, or sometimes through the middleman, and both parties will agree with the term. And most times we are writing that on the paper, for example, here. So we put our signature and then say, oh, A and B agree with the term, and this is contract. So that's really the what we use the contract in our daily life. But how the smart contract means? Smart contract really means they are embedded into the blockchain, and they define certain rule, say, if this happens, that will be triggered. For example, if I want to list my $5 bills this copy on the NFT marketplace, I can give them a smart contract, something like somebody paid more than $10, I will sell it to them. If they paid less than $10, I will reject, I will deny the transaction. So that's a smart contract. So if the buyer pay more than $10, I will accept that offer and I will sell my digital art. Here is an NFT, it's a copy to the new owner. So that's a smart contract. And this one will be built in with my digital art, not really the physical copy, but it's really a blockchain. It's really like a block, right? So if you're thinking about that, it's really the message about that part, about my digital art. So this was encoded in the programming language, and it's verifiable, and it was signed by my digital signature. So that's really like a contract which I will predefine. But sometimes the smart contract is defined by two parties. Sometimes it's only one party give the term. So either way, it's a smart contract. Smart contract was built inside the blockchain. So that's very important. It's called embedded into the blockchain. So that's part of the blockchain. Okay, so why we use the smart contract is because we want to protect the privacy. Also, we want to make sure the identity was really can be authenticated. So that's how the blockchain was really built into. Okay, so I skipped this. It's because they are not really so important. Now we'll go to the very important part, how to create, buy, and sell NFT. I'm sorry if I take too long for all of this introduction. That's not really my point. So the very first part is that you need to have your own cryptocurrency wallet. So that means just like eBay, most likely you will have to have either credit card or PayPal account. So here you have to create an account. Also, you have to go to the marketplace, which can list the NFT art piece for sale. Okay, and before we buy or sell that, the seller will need to pay the gas fee. The gas fee here means you want to list on the marketplace. The marketplace will need to collect some money from you. Just like eBay will collect your listing fee. If you're thinking about the gas fee, like the listing fee by the eBay, and then you can list over there. Okay, so let's play some short video about how to create an NFT, because we don't really have too many time, so I just try to make this quick.
I will show you how to create an NFT on Ethereum. We will use OpenSea, the biggest marketplace for NFTs. We will do everything with a UI. There won't be any coding, and we won't spend any Ether thanks to the lazy minting feature of OpenSea. If you are new here, I'm Julian, and on Eat the Blocks, I teach blockchain development. First, you need to create the image of your NFT. After, you install MetaMask, a popular wallet for Ethereum. Even though we won't have to spend any Ether to create our NFT, OpenSea.
So here the mention about the MetaMask. That's a digital wallet which you will spend the money, not spend money. You will convert your real money, for example, dollar, into the digital money, which is Ethereum here. So that will save that. It's pretty much like the PayPal, right? But it's a different format. Okay.
To sign in. Then you go to the website of OpenSea and click on Create. You select MetaMask, then you will see a pop-up of MetaMask. If this is the first time you use OpenSea with this address, you will have to connect your address to OpenSea. This will allow OpenSea to be aware of your address. After, you will sign a message. It doesn't send any transaction. It's just the login mechanism of OpenSea. After, you can start creating your NFT. First, you select the image of your NFT. Then you input the name. Then you optionally can put the link to the official website of the NFT if you created one. It's useful if you want to present the NFT in a customized way that is more appealing than the generic listing of OpenSea. Then there is an optional description. Then you select a collection to whom the NFT belongs to. If you don't select anything, OpenSea is going to assign a default collection. Then you can optionally define some attributes. The most simple attribute type is properties, which is textual traits. Then you have levels and stats, which are numerical traits. Then you have the supply, that's the number of NFT that can be minted. Then you choose the blockchain. Then you click on Create. Because of OpenSea lazy minting, at this point, the NFT will only exist in the blockchain when a user buys the NFT from you. On the page of the NFT, you can see the image, the attributes, the history of events, and technical details. This is the address of an 1155 smart contract managed by OpenSea, and it's used to mint the NFTs of all OpenSea users. To sell your NFT, you need to explicitly list your NFT for sale, and that's another action. So that's it for this tutorial on how to create an NFT.
Great. So that's how to create an NFT. That looks very simple and straightforward, but it's used the OpenSea as an example. It's a very popular one, and now we see how we can buy the NFT.
Buddy, it's Will. In this video, I will be walking through how to buy a NFT item on the OpenSea platform. By the end of this video, you will know how to purchase and place bids on NFT items. If you are new to the OpenSea NFT platform, you can check out the link at the top of your screen for a very quick tutorial on getting started on OpenSea. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so now that we have an OpenSea NFT account, we are ready to make an offer on an NFT item. I typically view the marketplace that you can click at the top of your screen to see what's new and what's trending. It's really interesting to check out some of the filters that we have here, such as recently sold, ending soon, highest last sale, and more. Or if you already have one in mind, then you can use the search bar as well. I will just go ahead and search for CryptoKitties, which was extremely popular a few years ago. And on here, I'm just going to sort by the price, low to high. This CryptoKitty looks pretty hilarious, and so I will go ahead and select this NFT item to make an offer on it. If we scroll down on the NFT item page, we can see a button that says make offer. So let's go ahead and click that, and we will select the currency that we'd like to make our offer in. If you'd like to make an offer in ETH, you'll notice that the only option is wrapped ETH, or WETH for short. We'll need to convert some Ethereum over to wrapped Ethereum, and we'll pay a gas fee, which is an Ethereum network transaction cost to allow our wallet to purchase with that particular crypto. So let's enter in the amount of ETH we'd like to convert to WETH. 0.025 should be good here. And there's a gas fee of around $7, which is really actually not too bad. It's been much higher recently. And then we will go ahead and click confirm on our MetaMask wallet extension, and it will take just a few moments for the Ethereum network to process their transaction. And all right, my transfer has gone through. You can check your wallet by clicking the wallet icon in the top right of the screen. And as you can see, I have a balance of 0.025 wrapped ETH, and I'm ready to make my bid for the CryptoKitty. So back on the NFT item screen, let's go ahead and click make offer. And then we'll just enter the amount of our offer and the appropriate currency. When you click make offer, the bids will automatically update to at least 5% higher than the previous bid. The previous bid was around 36 cents or so, and I'm setting this new bid at around 38 cents. And who knows, maybe I will get lucky. And whenever you're comfortable with the amount you want to bid, go ahead and click place bid. If this is your first time using OpenSea, you will need to approve wrapped ETH for trading. You will need to actually repeat this approval every time you use a different cryptocurrency for the first time, including other cryptos like USDC and DAI. It's important to know that this really is just a one-time fee to get you started. And there you have it. We have just successfully placed a bid on our very first NFT, an awesome looking CryptoKitty. If you would like to see a list of all active offers linked to your wallet address, you can find that by clicking on your profile icon and selecting the offers tab. Thank you all for watching. And
Okay, so this is about how to buy the NFT. Just like one quick hint. The NFT is not really supposed to be very cheap. Plus, the gas fee is much higher than the eBay listing fee, what you can see. And they charge both sides. So that means buyer and seller both pay for the gas fee. So don't be surprised. The NFT, it's not really cheap. Even they get much more popular than they used to be, but the marketplace is relatively still small. So now the final one is how to sell the NFT. Just for example, you already create your masterpiece and you want to sell, and how can you sell?
Buddy, it's Will. In this video, I will be walking through how to sell a NFT item on the OpenSea platform. By the end of this video, you will know how to post your own NFT items for sale on OpenSea. If you are new to the OpenSea NFT platform, you can check out the link at the top of your screen for a very quick tutorial on getting started on OpenSea. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So now that we have added an NFT on OpenSea, we are ready to post our first NFT item for sale. From the OpenSea homepage, select your profile image in the top right and then My Profile. Select the NFT you would like to sell from your wallet. I have the original logo for my YouTube channel that I will be posting, and so I went ahead and selected that. If you don't see an NFT available to sell on your screen, you can check out the video at the top of your screen for a quick tutorial on how to create an NFT to get started. From the NFT item screen in the top right, select Sell. And now here is where things get a little more interesting. We can select from a couple of different elements here, such as the price, type of auction, and other preferences. Personally, I am a huge fan of auctions, but just to keep things simple, I'll just set a fixed price to sell at, and we'll set it to 0.01 ETH, or roughly about $30, and see if anyone will buy it. When you are finished, select Post Your Listing.
Okay, here is very important. All of what he select here will eventually become a smart contract. That's very, very important. So you set a fixed fee, or you select the highest bid, or you bundle it together. Either way you select, that will be in the end convert as a smart contract as part of your transaction. So that means if you fix money, fixed price, that will be part of your contract. Or you want to ask for the highest bid, that's also part of your contract. Yeah, this is just a hint.
NFT, we will need to pay a gas fee on the Ethereum network. Right now, OpenSea is exploding in popularity, and as a result, the Ethereum network is pretty congested. The gas fee is over $100, which is crazy, and so I won't actually confirm this transaction to have the NFT posted on OpenSea. Hopefully, the gas fees on the Ethereum network will be much lower by the time you watch this video, but whenever you're ready to post your NFT for sale, you would just click confirm and your NFT item will be listed for sale. And there you have it. We have just successfully placed our first NFT item for sale on OpenSea. Thank you all for watching.
Okay, so now you see that the gas fee can be kind of expensive. Here is over $100. So of course they don't really charge you that if you don't really sell it. But on the other hand, if you sell it, you have to add the cost on top of what you ask for. So for example, you ask for $30, you have to pay $100 extra for the gas fee. So looks like $30 will make you lose $70. So the simple math is that you have to make sure you understand how it works. Do not replace the bid for too low, so you will lose money eventually. But of course, you also figure out don't put it to be a too high price, so nobody pay interest into that. Okay, pay attention to that. So that's pretty much it. And I think wrap up, NFT is really a use case for the blockchain. The most popular use case is Bitcoin. Of course, unfortunately, we don't really talk too much about Bitcoin today, but that's a totally different subject. So if you still have interest in, please let me know. If you have any question, put in the chat. If not, I will wrap up and ask our host to end today's meeting. I hope you found it interesting. And if you have any suggestion, please send the comments to Levittown Public Library. let them know what we can make better in the future. And I really appreciate your time. And I know my explanation is only scratch the surface. Hopefully, in the future, you have chance to create, buy, and sell your own NFT product. And yeah, if you are lucky enough, make some fortune. And don't forget tonight. Okay, that's a start point. Thank you.